Okay, we're back. We've watched Coronation Street. We've had our dinner. Was this evening's episode of Coronation Street quite as good as Monday or Wednesday's? I thought it was different. I left Monday and Wednesday's episodes thinking these were really fantastic, and this one was, but for different reasons. I loved the twist on Monday. Loved the comedy of Wednesday, and tonight was all about the drama and the angst of Leanne and the Ollie Wobble story, really, wasn't it? So I do still stand by the fact that this was a pretty good week of Corrie on the whole. Think I know what I'm going to score it, but let's see by talking about it first and see whether that changes my mind. So we're going to start off with a Ray's Race to Raise the Place story, but it's not just Ray that's doing it this time. He has got an accomplice. Who'd have thought that Roxy would be Debbie? I don't even know whether the name Roxy has even been mentioned in this week's episodes, come to think of it.
No, actually, now she's been revealed to be secretly Roxy. Was she actually Roxy?
I think she must be I don't know whether they said, whether there's a throwaway line saying, yes, that's right, I'm Roxy.
Because actually, although we decided that she is Roxy, no, she never, I don't think that it was ever said that she was, and Roxy and
double twist.
Debbie are the same person. Just because she's helping him doesn't mean that she's actually Roxy.
I assume that she is, but that would be quite a good twist if they're leading us to think that she's
and
Roxy,
actually,
but actually it's somebody else.
Just Gina!
Just Roxy. Yeah. Just somebody called Roxy that nobody's ever met, maybe.
What a twist that would be. Roxy is actually her real name.
Well, at last we were able to find out on Monday's episode that Debbie is secretly working with Ray, which we had suspected, but the way that they revealed it I did very, very much enjoy. So we'll talk about that one first. Then we have the Toya Battersby story. Subtitle for this week's episode, Booker.
Oh no!
Emma got arrested. Poor Emma.
No, please.
On Wednesday. I love her so much. But she got away with it, so it's fine.
She did seem to, didn't she?
Yeah. We've got 2 new storylines, everybody. 2 storyline titles.
Yeah.
I'm not really thinking that these are among my best, but Asha is not going to have sex with Corey yet.
Gross.
But there's probably going to be lots of kissing around. So I'm calling this storyline Asha Pashes. Just to follow up from the Asha Flashes storyline earlier this year. Because I'd never heard of Pashes to mean kissing before, but you said that this is a thing.
I'm sure I probably heard it when I watched Neighbours when I was little.
Australian slang we're resorting for.
Or maybe, actually, it was from Round the Twist.
Maybe we did. There were some good kids TV shows from Australia when we were little, weren't there?
Yeah.
Babes in Grace is the next storyline title because Grace is pregnant, and we will finish off with Dill We Meet Again.
Oh God!
Well, that's been a storyline title for 3 weeks. I've only just noticed.
I'll tell you what, though, you've got well done. You've got all 5 storylines have all got puns.
Yeah,
and they're all pretty decent.
Okay, I'm going to let you have the pleasure of doing the Raise to Raise the Play story, just because this is so good, and I think that you might enjoy talking about what Debbie was getting up to.
Oh, I love Debbie. She's so stylish.
You know what?
That bag's pretty cheap looking.
Up until this week, and I'd made no attempt to cover the fact in the podcast up until now, I wasn't so fussed on Debbie. I thought she was fine. It's always nice to have an actress back, but I thought she was all right. But as kind of the antagonist in the Debbie-Abby feud, I was naturally always going to be on Abby's side. But as soon as she, literally, the pre-break time cliffhanger on Monday where she starts bursting into tears, is like, I like you now, and then that continued, especially Wednesday. So good when she was lowering herself to Sally's level, as she put it. Anyway, I get ahead of myself. Really, please remind us what happened in this story this week.
On Monday, Debbie calls Kevin a doormat because he is putting up with Abby being around and being a pain in the bum, and she's trying to get rid of her. Debbie is then mad at Abby because Kev said, "Oh, how long are you going to be hanging around for?" Because she's wondering at this point, how come Debbie, who's so posh and successful, why is she staying in her brother's house?
Yeah, when there are many lovely and I'm sure affordable Crosby brand hotels in the area.
You know what, Michael? The one thing I've always said about Weatherfield is that it hasn't got a really good hotel, centrally located near the tram stop, and that's what it really needs.
It really does. The echo.
One that would be near a corner shop,
benefit, yeah,
and round the corner from like a Costa or something.
I'd stay there.
Me too. Abby's asking, "What's your work?" And Debbie's like, "It's none of your business. It's property."
Which we'd
do
known
property.
already. I mean, this was just laying the foundations, wasn't it? But I suppose this was trying to cover up the fact that... Because I'd been wondering, if Debbie really is Roxy, why didn't Kevin know about this? And it was made very clear that she wants to be, for some reason, super secretive and none of your beeswax about it.
Abby
Like,
tries to get
fine.
Kevin to stand up to Debbie and he won't. But he says she'll only be there until she's finished whatever this business is, and then we'll get rid of her. And then they see her going into the bistro, so Kev rings her up and she says, oh yes, sorry, I'm in town having a meeting. And they're immediately suspicious because Abby's like, something's going on with her.
It's basically Abby, isn't it? She's like, I knew it all along. I'm going to
lying,
storm out
she's
over
lying.
there and call her out.
So they go into the bistro, confront her. Kevin's following along behind Abby, and then immediately, when she's confronted with these two, go, you're lying, what are you doing here, blah blah blah. Debbie starts to cry and says she's bankrupt and all of her clothes and everything and her laptop and stuff are all loans, and she was too ashamed to say what.
I loved that. That's what I was saying earlier about the reveal of Debbie's Machiavellian side being particularly... It came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting her to do this lying, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like that. You are one devious cow, because up until this point as well, there'd been no... I mean, I wonder how many viewers watching fell for it. How many other people hadn't guessed that Debbie was, a nasty piece of work working with Ray, and then the reveal for them came
really
later.
A nasty piece of work,
no, she's not
is
really. But, she's working with the
She's
enemy.
working
Used to
with
be
the
sleeping
enemy.
with the enemy, and so for them the reveal came later. For us, it was the reveal of how it was going to come out. Yeah, very, very good.
So they immediately believe her. They buy this hook, line and sinker. I don't know whether it would be really cost effective to rent your clothes. Abby feels guilty about this, and then Kevin's like, why don't you have Auntie Fi's money back? And she's like, no, I can't accept that. Nobody says to her, why are you in the bistro having lunch if you're bankrupt? Could this be why you're bankrupt? Because you're frivolous with money?
It's a loan.
Who's loaning me the food? I'll give it back in a minute.
Give it back what?
And Lou.
No, Grim.
Abby's relieved, and they go. Kevin's gnarled at her, you've written.
I knew you would point out.
What is it?
I don't narked. Kevin's narked at Abby,
Why?
isn't he?
Oh, Abby.
Because
okay.
she was, because Abby's the one that caused
She's
this
like, what? Yeah, what's
distress to his dear
causing
sister.
all this aggravation? Then Debbie gets the phone and she says, well, she's alone at this point. She says on the phone, I've just dodged a bullet. I need to talk. Who is that she's talking to?
Ray.
This, I think we were both going, ooh, at this point, weren't we?
Yeah, because I mean, it still at that point could have been, maybe we were wrong about Debbie all this time. We were thinking, this is all a big trick.
I really like this story.
Up until she spoke to Ray on the phone.
And I'm really happy to accept this is what's happened. But I do think in real life, if you were Kevin, you'd be like, you bitch, what do you mean you've been made redundant? I mean, bankrupt. And you decide to just crash at my house and swan around and pretend that you're all spending all your time working on your laptop. What were you actually doing on Facebook, arguing with people about whether or not face masks are a hoax? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because really, if you're living in someone's house and they're generously letting you stay there rent-free, you should be doing the housework or doing some cooking or whatever.
Yeah.
And she just seems to be like sitting around drinking wine,
polishing that plastic apple on his table at number 13.
There's fake fruit that needs to be waxed. So anyway, you moved it. Abby goes and tells Sally what's going on, and Sally says, you've got to make up for this. You need to show Debbie that they're your friends. Is that right?
Yes.
Or I don't know if you
mean
mean Sally.
You're watching this episode.
No.
Sally says to Abby, look, if you want to apologise, if you're feeling guilty
tell her
about
that you're friends
upsetting
together.
Debbie, just go and show her that you're friends, and
Okay,
then
I
she
don't
will
know if you
forgive
meant show Debbie that me and you are friends.
No.
That would be weird. Just rub her face in it. Kevin is now refusing to let Debbie pay for anything because he's worried about her. And then Abby comes over and in order to show her that they're friends, she offers to buy wine and a takeaway. And Debbie looks a bit guilty. And Abby's like, no, let me make it up to you. And so they agree to have a girly chat. And it starts off a bit awkward and silent. But then Abby starts on many a woman's favourite topic, how awful my ex-boyfriends were. And she gets on to Ray. And Debbie's ears prick up immediately. And she's like, very shocked, but she wants more gossip. And so Abby dishes it all out, saying what a pervert Ray is and how he blackmailed Kevin to sell him the garage. So, next scene is Debbie storming into Ray's office. And he's like, oh, hang on a minute, we're not supposed to know each other. Well, what's going on? And she's like, you're a real piece of work. And it turns out Debbie and Ray also had a thing together. And they had, what they've done was agreed together, even though they are ex-partners, but they're partners in business now. And what they're trying to do is to purchase all the properties on that side of the street. And Ray's like, well, you know what, that this was what we agreed to do by any means necessary. And Debbie's like, no, not persuasion, not blackmail. So,
I enjoyed Ray's Monopoly analogy that he made in tonight's episode, buying up all the houses and putting a hotel on top.
Yeah. Ray tells her that he's working, that Gary's working with them, right? About the factory.
No, he's working on Ray. Sorry, he's working on Gary to get the factory off of him.
But Gary's in cahoots with them.
Yeah, kind of, but he's still trying to get the factory.
I thought Gary said, screw the factory girls, I don't care anymore.
Oh, I don't know, it doesn't matter.
Debbie's getting Jeff. That's her task, right?
Yeah. She says, I'm in with him. I was the one that told Jeff that Alia was going to be following him last week, as if he didn't tell himself from Alia spouting off at the top of her voice.
And she's working on number 4.
Yeah, she's got that side of the street. That's her little job.
She's working, beavering away to get everybody to sell up. And number 4, which is Sally and Tim's house, and she's saying you need to probably offer Sally a sweetener. And Ray says, you need this development as much as I do, otherwise you really will go bankrupt. I don't understand how these two have managed to get themselves into a situation whereby they need everybody in a random, like, residential area to sell so they can build a luxury hotel in Weatherfield.
I know.
Because obviously Weatherfield is supposed to be where Salford is. And it's based on that area of Salford. Can you imagine putting a luxury hotel in there?
I'm sure there's some lovely ones.
I mean, we'd stay there, but we only go there once a year. I don't think you can make business out of 2 Coronation Street nut jobs. So that's their plan. Debbie comes home, and who's making the chilli? Is it Kevin?
It's Kevin. His patented Scotch bonnet chilli.
He puts 4 Scotch bonnets in. What a pointless load of nonsense. She and Abby are a bit wary of each other, but they toast to honesty. And I thought it was quite funny how Abby was saying she couldn't handle hot food, and Debbie was like, oh, I thought you'd have a cast iron stomach. And it's like, you're just being a bit classist, aren't you, Debbie? Like, oh yeah, poor people like curry. Hot curry because it's the only flavour they can enjoy. Because chili's the only thing they can afford to buy. On Wednesday, Debbie tells Ray on the phone that she's going to lower herself to Sally's level and act like a vapid, dozy mare to ingratiate herself. And it's really good because she goes around Sally's house and she's like, oh, Sally, I like your top. What colour would you call that? Puce. And Sally's like, no, I think it's pink.
I thought that this was some of the funniest Coronation Street
really like
these series of scenes on Wednesday's episode. It was
right up my street. And silly,
I thought it was just the right side of being too silly, because quite often Coronation Street tries to do humour and it falls flat for me. Like Mary, sometimes I think, no, that's too silly. It's no good. Kirk, no good. But I found this just right. I found the whole series of scenes with Sally and Debbie just brilliant on Wednesday.
And she compliments her on her chimney as well. We used to have a chimney, didn't we? But it's been destroyed by the
bald git next door coming in and breaking with his shovel.
Ours was destroyed by the window washer who tried to pretend it wasn't him.
Yes. Yes, Debbie's just like, oh, is that a chimenea, Sally?
Oh, a
Ooh,
chimenea.
they're classy, aren't they?
They're very good. Yeah, 10 years ago, that would have been all the rage. Yeah, then she brings up Jeff and she's like, oh, I don't know how you could live around here next to this monster. I would have thought you'd live somewhere posher like Cheshire. And Sally's like, oh, I'd love to move somewhere like that, but it would kill me to leave my conservatory and hot tub. And Debbie's like, why don't we have a chimenea christening party?
Talking of Sally's hot tub, I enjoyed this thing. Was it? I can't remember Monday or Wednesday's episode where Abby tells Sally that Debbie thinks that she's chavvy for. No, she said it was she's a swinger, doesn't she? For having a hot tub.
Debbie and Tim come around later with party food and they've nicked a trolley from Freshco's, and Sally tells Jeff they're going to have a party because he's outside and you're not invited, wasn't it?
She also says go and dump the trolley at Gail's house when they're like, what are we going to do with this now?
Oh God. I tell you what, Sally, if I lived in Cheshire and I saw Sally turning up with her moving van, I'd be very worried that the property prices were about to be lowered by a yob. So the party started in the back garden and Debbie's admiring Sally's beautiful plume.
The chimenea.
Yeah. Noah's supposed to come, who is Faye's boyfriend.
Oh yeah, that was the other side of this story, wasn't it? Faye splitting up with her non-existent boyfriend that we've always never seen him anyway.
Jeff comes and stands in the garden, starts coughing because of the smoke, and then he says he's weed in the hot tub.
He insinuates it, at least.
Basically.
He was like, oh, have you looked at the water recently? Is it a bit yellow and frothy?
Oh, horrible.
I just thought this was great.
And then he puts on Mr. Bombastic on his... I thought this was stupid. I didn't like it.
I loved it. I really loved it.
It didn't make... This is not Jeff's personality. Anyway, so he's dancing around and singing. Literally, he's singing to Mr. Bombastic by Shaggy. And Debbie stirs things up. And then Tim chucks water on Jeff, right?
Yes.
Debbie goes around to see Jeff because he's like, oh, really upset. And she's basically stoking the fires, both ends, by talking and bad-mouthing.
Yeah, because she has been working with Jeff to try and... she wants him to think, I'm getting rid of Sally to do you a favour, and she's now doing the same to Sally, saying...
Yeah.
Well,
she's saying to Sally, you should leave.
You should leave, yeah.
Stroking his ego, etc. Says it's time for you to show your testosterone. I don't know what that means.
It means go and smash up the chimney with your big shovel.
Can you test testosterone in diluted hot tub water from someone's urine? Don't know. Debbie returns to Sally saying, I think I've smoothed things over, but within seconds, out comes Jeff onto their patio. Has he got a spade?
Yeah. He's
smashing things up, including the chimney and a very nice set of garden furniture. That is an exact copy of the sort that, what's her name? Carly,
I've got it written down somewhere.
Kirsty Allsop.
Yeah, what did she say? Sally calls it as an actual direct imitation. It's because when Debbie was trying to butter Sally up, she was like, oh, Sally, I love that garden furniture. Where did you get that from? And Faye's like, wasn't it from a petrol station? And Sally's she's so Annie Walker, isn't she, in some reactions? She's like, no, Faye. I think it came... I can't remember where she said she got...
No.
But it was so good.
Kirsty Allsop is a very posh lady in the UK, if you didn't know. She's a TV presenter and she does like property shows.
There was also the line about somebody selling, didn't Faye say she makes furniture out of junk, and
that's why she makes
only at Christmas.
She makes decorations out of rubbish she finds around her house. That's right, because she also
the script was so good on Wednesday. I think it was Jonathan Harvey, at least the first one was. I can't remember whether the second was or not.
She's like she does crafty things.
Is she as crafty as Jeff, the sneak?
No, she does something called Kirsty's Homemade Home and Kirsty's Homemade Christmas, showing people how to have an individual Christmas using second-hand and homemade products, such as wreaths from material found in a nearby wood, according to Wikipedia. Yeah,
Gemma's not just got that memorised.
No, I don't know much about Kirsty Allsop, apart from the fact that she often says controversial things on Twitter to rile people up. Like, I think it's disgusting when people have washing machines in their kitchens. I have to say, that argument really annoyed me, because most people in this country have to have their washing machines in the kitchen because they're there's no room for anywhere else. And I also want to know what you have done to your clothing to make it so that one second you're able to wear it in the kitchen, and the next second when you take it off, it immediately becomes biohazard and you can't have it in the same room. What are you doing to your clothes that you can't wear them?
I don't know. There's another little kind of a cliffhanger, but not really, in the break time on the second Wednesday episode, isn't there? With the spade.
What do you mean?
This is when Tim's there and he's telling Jeff to get out the garden, and Jeff's like, "Oh, you said get out of the garden and get out of my life." And Jeff's like proper hurt about how Tim has turned against him because he's so on his own.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
And then he hands him the spade and is like, "Go on, you finish off what Yasmin started." He's like saying, "Yeah,
and he also says, "Oh, I wish there was a bottle of wine around," or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought this was very out of character.
I didn't, because we've seen Jeff lose his rag before. Remember, like when he busted up the Hoover just recently? He's losing his cool.
No,
and I think
this was very performative and calculated. I also thought it was a bit stupid that he basically came into their garden and wrecked stuff, and they didn't call the police on him, even though that's all he does to other people. And somehow Jeff manages to call the police out for people saying nasty things and hurting his feelings, but he literally destroys a chimney, which probably costs about 60 to 100 quid, with a spade, and that's it. Nobody cares.
Well, they did bring up whether they should call the police in later, didn't they? And Debbie was like, "Oh no, I don't think they should do that. Or you don't want to have these.
No, I thought that
you
was
don't want to
bollocks.
get the police involved with you." Oh, Gemma.
We'd have to say that.
I'm sorry.
I
think I was speaking at the same time. I'm sure nobody heard you say that naughty word. Yeah, no, I thought it was fine that they didn't get the police involved. I think they don't want to lower themselves to Jeff's level.
No,
the fact that he goes running and saying,
"Excuse
me, officer, they called me a nasty name." They're like, yeah.
No, it's because the story, they didn't want it to complicate the story.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yes,
but I don't think it was
excuses.
beyond the realms of possibility that they wouldn't call the police.
Well, I think it's silly. So how about that?
I'm going to call the police on you. They all end up going back inside.
They all go back inside.
And they find out that Noah has dumped Faye as well.
Can't believe it.
Doomed romance there.
Debbie says just unhinged, and Tim says he's going to make him move. And Debbie says, "Well, why don't you move?" And Tim says, "I'm not budging." Faye has a chat with Craig in Victoria Gardens. She's upset about being dumped, and she obsesses about this all week. Craig says, "I've got an idea. Let's take some photos on Instagram to make you look really cool and make him see what he's missing out on and boost your confidence."
I don't think he was putting on Instagram at all. I think he was just saving it as a personal
photo
folder on his phone.
Debbie goes to see Ray and says, "Oh, I've had a great day today. The place is a dump. It wants knocking down." Oh, so mean. I love Sally's house. Sally and Yasmin, both houses are very nicely decorated inside.
The Platts is very much there are kids living in this home.
No one cares about this house.
No,
There is no decoration going on in here.
No interior design there.
No.
But it's iconic, so it's fine.
Tell you what, they get rid of Kylie's throat over my dead body. Sally's house hunting online, and Tim is saying, "I don't want to move just because one person." And Sally says, personally, I'm worried because I think you're working yourself up, and I don't want you to have a heart attack because you have to live next to your dad. Good point, Sal. On Friday, Sally tells Abby that they're thinking of selling up, and Abby's like, "I can't believe it. Are you letting Jeff win? But I thought you loved this house and you like living here. Why would you want to move?" Jeff sees Faye in the street and tries to apologise to her for ruining the party.
Yeah, because as well as being a chimney christening party, it was also supposed to be Noah coming round, wasn't it? We didn't say.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't going to come anyway.
And Tim had told Jeff that he'd spoilt Faye's, big party. But
and he tries to apologise. She won't hear and shouts at him. And then Craig tells him to bog off, and Jeff's like, "Oh, it's not my fault. It was all Debbie. She was provoking me." Abby tells Debbie and Kevin that Sally's thinking of moving, and Debbie's like, "Well, I think that is a brilliant idea. What a great idea of hers to move. She should definitely move." Craig goes over to see Sally and Tim and tell them about Jeff harassing Faye, and says about what Debbie said about saying what Jeff said about Debbie provoking her. And Sally's like, "That's weird because that's not what she said. She was going around there to smooth things over, so I'm confused." Then Sally gets the good news. Apparently, this is good news that the house has been valued at £145,000.
I thought it would be more than that.
I thought it'd be a lot more than that.
I guess that it's right. It's true what they say about houses being cheaper up north.
But I did have a look through.
You did,
actually, Salford. That seems like a fairly. The thing is, it's a fairly reasonable price, and you wouldn't believe this, Michael, but you can actually buy 3-bedroom places in Southampton for around that much.
Oh, okay.
But they're all horribly decorated and in need of renovation. So I think Sally's under.
Well, I mean, there is also a sinkhole next door to Sally's house at the moment,
Yeah, that's
or 2 houses
true,
away.
yeah.
So there's a bit of a risk involved there.
Debbie says, "Oh, that sounds like a good price in this market." And Sally then says to Debbie, "Jeff said that you wound him up yesterday," and says, "Look, okay, maybe I didn't smooth things over like I said I did, but how was I supposed to know you come around rampaging with a spade?" Sally then gets a phone call from somebody from the estate agent going, "Oh, you've had an offer on your house already for the full asking price." And immediately Sally's like, "Whoa, well, maybe we undervalued it. We should definitely hang fire in case other people are interested. It's only just gone on the market." And Debbie's like, "Oh, no, you should definitely bite the hand off. In this economy, in this housing market, you should definitely." Then we get a scene with Faye admitting to Craig that she likes him. Maybe they could go out with each other, which she's thrilled to hear about. And Debbie goes to Ray and says, "I can't believe you put an offer in. I told you to wait at least a day. Now you've convinced her that she's going to hold out for a better offer." And he's like, "Hey, well, that makes me think that we should have sex with each other." And she's like, "I don't know where that came from, but no."
Mm-hmm. So that was basically that. I thought I really enjoyed this story this week, as I made it very clear earlier. You didn't seem as into it as me. Wednesday you just didn't enjoy as
Wednesday
much as
I was
did.
going, "Oh God."
Usually I'm very sensitive to overly silly stuff, but I just found it all fantastic. Debbie's over-the-top camp admiration
I
of
love
everything
that.
Sally.
I really like that bit. The thing I didn't like was Jeff acting like an idiot. I think he wouldn't. The whole point of Jeff and why he is such a good villain is that he was a manipulative, like, sneaky guy, but now obviously he can't get his way with Sim and Tally, so he's kind of.
But he'd been working with Debbie, and I think she probably told him, you need to make a nuisance of yourself. They're going to have a party. I'm going to convince them to have a party. You need to put your music on loud, be an obnoxious neighbour, and try and convince them to do it. I don't think that was
All
that
right,
was him
I
being
understand
him.
what you're saying. I just think that you don't normally, most people wouldn't make themselves look stupid and ridiculous.
He definitely wouldn't, because he cares about what people think about him. He's all about the show, isn't he? But because he does have his theatrical side as the great
I just think him
Magnifico,
singing shaggy songs at them.
it was pretty repulsive, wasn't it? No, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was
All right,
great.
okay, you said that now.
So the Debbie twist. What did you think? So I've kind of said for us what we thought, but I don't know whether you're on the same page as me.
We were waiting for this to be revealed, and when it was, I was like, oh! And I guess it was good. The double twist was that they used to be an item, which I didn't even consider.
No, but I mean, I'm thinking, why did they need to have that? It was a bit like Todd and Mick the gangster, wasn't it? They just throw that in there. Everybody happened to go out with each other in the past. I don't think that particularly added too much. The whole of that story was a bit silly.
I agree with
Maybe
you.
there's going to be something that means that it's better that the two of them have been seeing each other, but I don't think it's, so far, not necessary.
I agree with you when you say that it was unnecessary in the story of Todd and Mick, because it was. But in this case, it adds an extra dimension because, first of all, you've got the "are they going to get back together again" thing.
And she's made it abundantly clear that she's not, and I think that she's not the sort of person that he would, in the course of a few weeks, because I mean we've only got a few weeks left until the 60th anniversary, when I guess it's all going to hit the fan. I don't think that she's going to be convinced into his bed.
And also you've got the whole thing of Abby being his ex as well.
Yes.
Which adds, and actually I honestly think that adds something else. And these women both know him in a different way to everybody else, because when you're dating somebody, you see a completely different side of them than you do if you're a business person with them, or if you're, you know, you just know them from around. So there could be that. I think there's going to be something down the line that Debbie and Abby, they're either going to be at loggerheads once Abby finds out that she's dated him before, or they might unite against him.
I think that's quite likely.
It's going to be just like Sex in the City, Michael. It's going to be amazing.
I think when Abby ended up bedding
I think Debbie's
Ray,
a Samantha.
When Abby ended up bedding Ray at New Year, it felt odd and it came out of nowhere, didn't it? It's like, why is she going with him? No, we don't want that. And then it seemed to maybe tie itself up fairly quickly when she blew up the car, but it was kind of dropped. It was over and done with pretty quickly, wasn't it? But yeah, you're right that currently we've got Abby versus Debbie, and they both, you know, have been with Ray before is one thing, but I don't think they're going to keep Debbie evil, because as manipulative as she's being and as deceitful as she's being, I don't think that she is a villain in inverted commas, although I think I'd quite like her to be one. We've seen enough of her this week.
I want her to commit a bit more to being cutthroat, because at the moment she seems to have fallen into the exact same trap as Gary has, where the writers are like, oh, we want them to sort of facilitate what the main villain it wants, but we don't want them to actually be we don't want the viewers to dislike them.
The difference between Gary and Debbie, one of them for me, is that we've seen a lot of looks of Gary just looking anxious about, oh, what have I become, kind of thing, and with Debbie we're not. She knows what she's doing, and
I like her,
and she's like, when she found out that she's got involved with Ray, who was accused of being a massive pervert, she just went and marched up into the bistro and told him straight to his face, what the hell have you been doing to my brother?
No, you keep saying that Ray's evil and like he's a villain and everything, but again, I just have to remind you, all he's done is want to redevelop an area of the inner city and build a luxury hotel.
But he was introduced as a villain in Michelle's story last year, wasn't he?
Oh no, yeah. Let's remind me that he actually was a bit of a sex pest.
Yeah.
And tried to molest Michelle and also
I
Bethany.
don't know. Yeah, did he with Bethany? I can't remember.
Well, he lured her to the hotel, didn't he?
Oh yeah, of course.
So we know that he's inappropriate with women and a bit rapey. Very bad. But is that is building a luxury hotel on a par with that? Is that a sort of equal crime, are we saying?
I mean, as the Coronation Street viewing audience, we're supposed to think that anyone who dares touch even a cobble is spawn of Satan.
But again, I really would like to know what specifically it is about this area in particular that means that he has to develop it.
It's got a lovely bistro down the end of the road. There's a cute little garden round the corner, easy tram access.
They haven't said anything about why Ray's doing this. He doesn't have any personal motivation at the moment, other than he probably would think it was quite funny to get one over on everybody. But really, this is kind of hollow. We need a bit more. There needs to be more at stake, because at the moment, the street residents don't actually even know what's happening, and we don't really know why Ray is doing it. So although I am into this, and I think this could be quite a good story, at the moment it's at the very very early stages, and they really need to explain a bit more about the motivation, and people need to uncover what he's doing.
It's starting, well, I've said this a few weeks before, that it's starting to get a bit convenient that so many people are getting into situations whereby they have got no choice but to sell up their homes. But I would have thought that more people would be putting two and two together at this point and realising, hang on a minute, if we keep going up here, then none of us, in a month's time, nobody is going to be owning the houses
David
here.
thinks he's renting. So you said that Jeff is in cahoots with Debbie, but I didn't really I've missed that.
Yeah, no, I got that.
So why is he in cahoots with Debbie then? What's he getting out of it?
Getting rid of Sally and Tim living next to him.
So he thinks he's going to stay in his house?
Yeah, but...
Well, that's silly, isn't it?
He thinks he's going to stay in the house, but also we've got Alia is trying to sell the house, isn't she?
I know, but I can't see what the point of the plan is. It doesn't make any sense to me. If you're trying to get somebody to move by making somebody else into a neighbour from hell. Well, you get two people and they both hate each other, and you want them both to move, so you go into cahoots with one of them to get them to make the other ones move out. All you've done then is make the person who's remaining, aka Jeff, even more comfortable and happy in the place that they are living in, and less likely to want to move. Can you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It doesn't make sense. She should be playing them off each other and trying to prevent them from telling each other that they both want to move.
Well, I'm sure that there's a good
And
plan
let's
in there
face
somewhere.
it, Jeff isn't going to want to move anyway because he'll lose the house. At the moment, he has half share in a house that the other person can't access or use because they're in prison. If he moves out, he has half the value of the house, and therefore he can't live in somewhere that's going to be as good. And if he's going to get 145 grand for it, that's not enough to buy much of a... It's going to be a very small place.
Yeah.
Like he said, nowhere to put his magic stuff.
Oh yeah, it does, isn't it? No, I think it's. I'm sure. I'm beginning to feel more confident than I had been a few weeks ago that this is nicely planned and it's leading to somewhere quite juicy in the next 4 or 5 weeks before the 60th.
And what's going on with the cabin as well? He's not doing anything about that.
That's an odd one, and I feel that had Barbara Knox been able to appear in the show at the moment, we know that she has started filming again, so it's going to be a very quick sale. But the fact that they've not even mentioned it, unless maybe he's thinking of having the hotel, local shop downstairs in the lobby being the cabin.
Yeah, build it sort of on stilts above. They could have done that anyway, though.
Yeah, I mean, we got hints that Kathy was having money problems a month or two ago, didn't we? Because Deb was having to reduce her shifts at the kebab shop and everything. But that's really been very, very quiet. So I would have thought that in the next few weeks that's going to have to be brought back up again. Because...
Yeah, but Kathy's money problems were due to the fact that she doesn't like working with her boyfriend.
Yeah, I know, but I think that's where that's going. They're just going to have to leave it till the very last minute, or maybe the cabin is going to be the last, the last thing standing. I don't know, when he gets the wrecking ball out, because
like we said,
because Rita's still
up on
shielding.
The floor eating dust again, surrounded by boiled sweets.
It's anniversary tradition, isn't it? Anything else for that one? Craig and Faye. I mean, it feels to me like the only reason that they'd be putting them together at this point is so that during the 60th anniversary, she can be in mortal peril or something.
He's already saved her.
I know, I mean, that was like the first round of it, but I feel that there could be some real...
Craig.
I think there could be some real tragedy. And because
you think Faye's going to die?
I don't know.
How's she going to die through a property development?
I don't know,
She's going to fall in a pit.
She could. She's clearly.
Faye's going to
She's
die.
clearly. Jeff's. He's lied about her in the past, and she's
lied about her.
I can't remember what happened, but they've definitely set them against each other now, granddaughter and grandson.
Yeah.
And I think that somehow Jeff's going to, on purpose or accidentally, end up putting his own granddaughter in danger. Craig's going to go and try and rescue her. I don't think that Craig could get killed or anything. I think that they want to keep him in the show. But Faye has been a bit of a hanger-on for a long time now. I just feel that there may be some sort of danger brought about by Jeff, and Craig has to go into the rescue or something. It feels like this has got doomed romance written all over it for the 60th, honestly. Do you want to move on to the next story? Have we said enough for this one?
Yes.
Okay, so the Oliver storyline, the Oliver's money storyline, the serious story, the harrowing story of the week, but also the kind of comedy tragedy of what the problem that she's got herself into somehow of the week as well.
That's comedy.
Everything that Emma does is comedy. When she was tying herself up in knots in the police station and telling her silly stories and, going off on tangents and everything. Everything Emma does is great. So Monday, Emma, she does a fair to middling impression of surprise when Jenny tells her about Scott being behind the bistro robbery. Because this is how the story starts, wasn't it? All the fallout of the Scott stuff last week, which was it came to its huge climax on Friday, and we were like, what's going to happen now with Johnny and Jenny and Scott? And it turns out nothing really. it's kind of swept under the carpet, but the money that Scott gave Emma to keep her quiet about him having a gun in his bag is kind of takes centre stage for Monday and Wednesday at least. So she Emma is tying herself in knots about what should I do about this money. And no, she's already at this point given it to Imran, hasn't she, to pay off the solicitor.
He's given it. He's already transferred it to somebody else.
Yeah, so she confides in Alina later, who I keep forgetting that she even exists. I used to really enjoy Alina, and then she comes in does a few things, and then
so sad.
She seems like a bit pointless at the moment. I want to see more of her. Do I? I don't know. Anyway, Alina says you got to tell the police about this, and Emma thinks it's too late. What a dilemma she's in.
I'm in a dilemma.
And Alina knows from first-hand experience what dodgy people are like. They're dodgy. That's what you need to sort this. Stop it. Ryan's been drafted into the Rovers later, as Emma has apparently got sick and has had to go home. Kirk finds Johnny in the pub and says, "Oh, I heard that you were the one that reported Scott for robbing the bistro, and he was the one that shot Craig. You're a hero." And it's the age-old tropey situation of somebody who feels guilty about something being told how wonderful they are.
And they're like, but you don't... I can't accept this praise.
Which we also see a lot of in the Ollie storyline, with Nick being told by Leanne that isn't he a great dad, when actually he's secretly going behind her back. And anyway, Emma goes over to see Amy, and then she gets a sob story about how terrible this whole Ollie situation is. But Amy says, "But Emma, thank you so much for being so great. You donated this £5,000. Aren't you wonderful?" So both her and Johnny have been told, literally in the space of 2 scenes, that they're both wonderful when they know that they've got deep, dark secrets. Now it's Emma's time to squirm. So Johnny, back at the Rovers, is panicking. And Jenny says, "Look, everything's going to be all right. Don't worry about it. You didn't hold the gun. You were the one that called the police. You got nothing to worry about. It's fine." Johnny still feels responsible for Craig's injuries, though, and Grant's death as security guard. And Jenny's like, "Look, Johnny, I'm worried. You're making yourself ill. It's my responsibility to keep you safe and healthy. Let's just not talk about this again. No more."
Yeah, the best,
end of conversation.
The healthiest thing to do.
You're worried about something, just
to bottle all your feelings up and not talk about it.
Yeah, and we'll open it up again next time our filming block comes round, basically. Yeah. So this is when the focus turns more over to Emma, because the cops come into the Rovers, I think it was. I can't remember. Did they go to number 1? I can't remember where she is, saying, "Can I come and talk to you?" Oh no, they catch her on a bench or something, don't they?
Yeah, she's there. She's literally there going, "Oh, I don't know what I should do about this money that I stole." And then the police come over and go, "Emma Brooker, have you stolen money?" She's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, so it turns out that Scott has told the cops about the money. We don't get to see Scott at all this week, do we? Considering, how big of a character he was last week, and that's it feels
Where is
like
he must be gone.
I know, it feels like we've maybe seen the last of Scott when it felt like he wasn't quite done. But I suppose they didn't really need him.
No.
But it felt very abrupt. But again, I'll say this story, I feel, was supposed to be tied up about 4, 5, 6 months ago because of the pandemic. They've had to prolong it. So I guess they just wanted to get rid of the actor, maybe. Anyway, Emma completely denies the money. She very, very strenuously denies that she knows anything about this. It's not true. Scott's telling a load of lies. I felt like the police officer probably didn't believe her, because she's not the best liar, is she? If she feels guilty about something, she wears her heart on her sleeve, so you're going to know. But anyway, what can they do?
She reminds me of those videos you see of the owners coming back from somewhere and everything's wrecked, and they go to the dog and they're like, "Did you do this?" And the dog looks at them sideways like, No, definitely.
Totally.
It couldn't possibly be me.
So Emma goes over to number 1 later and confesses to Steve, and he can't believe what he's hearing. I mean, he was like, "When I was your age, I was doing dodgy things with money," which, if you've been watching the repeats on ITV3, knows very, very true. But he's like, "You're not like this. You're just a good girl."
Can I just say that I feel that Emma's been shafted by everybody here, right? Because normally somebody goes and says, "Oh, I've got a terrible confession to make. I've murdered 10 men and buried them under the patio." everyone will be like, oh my gosh, we can't let anybody find out. We have to hide the evidence and make sure that you stay out of prison. Literally, everyone that she tells is like, oh no, we have to tell the police. Aren't they? Oh no, this is terrible.
Yeah.
They tried to hide it a little bit, but within the week, you know, it's like 2 days' time, she's being fined.
Well, look, Steve doesn't say that. He says, look, I think you should do nothing for now. I need time to think. She's like, oh, I'd go to prison if it meant keeping the money and saving on his life. And he's like,
how much was it?
£5,000.
It wasn't that much, was it?
Not in the grand scheme of things.
It's not worth going to prison over £5,000, especially because they're going to unplug Ollie next week, probably.
I don't know whether they are. I mean, I am wondering the way this is going. He said, look, I wouldn't sacrifice you to save Ollie. I love you both the same.
Oh, I know. Oh, God.
But it does make me wonder, when he said I wouldn't sacrifice Ollie, I wouldn't sacrifice you to save him, it's almost like he's saying, I don't think Ollie's going to last much longer, which he hasn't admitted
it to himself, perhaps, slowly.
Yeah, exactly, maybe.
It.
Yeah, so he says, I just need to know you're okay, and crucially, that you're not in prison. So then we move over to Wednesday, where there's a couple of awkward hospital scenes at the beginning, where Emma's visiting, feeling very guilty because of the money and everything.
Leanne, you're so good.
Yeah, basically, this generous donation that Emma's given, aren't you wonderful?
Finally, somebody who realises the seriousness of Ollie's situation is on my side.
So Steve has to nip this in the bud, and he tells Leanne that the money's dodgy, so he gives her the whole story about what it is, and Toya says, I will sort this with Imran. I'll get it all sorted. So Imran is summoned back home, and he reacts pretty badly to the news that the money's dodgy.
He's like, what the hell are you talking about? This was money laundering, and you've involved me in it. I can't just not say anything to anybody. It's not like you, where you can just go blabbing everyone's secrets and you just get disbarred. I could be in trouble here.
Yeah, Toya's like, you can't tell anybody.
I like the way Toya was like, I didn't know there would be an issue with this. I'm sorry. And Imran's like, I'm a lawyer, you stupid woman.
Yeah, Toya has interesting views about
Toya's got a switch in her head that sometimes goes to completely dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, this was
she's normally very sensible. Like last week when she was in the cafe and she was telling, Evelyn, oh, Evelyn, you might be interested to know that Arthur was at the hospital looking sad. Anyway, bye. Like, she didn't think that would impact her or make her feel anything apart from happy. Oh, good, my ex-boyfriend's at the hospital looking sad. Good on him. That's brilliant. I'm so glad he's suffering.
Well, Emma comes round later, and Imran is all for fessing up to Elliot, who's the special helper lawyer bloke, and Emma needs to go to the police, and she is in tears. She's just like snivelling. Ali Mardell was
bad
so brilliant.
I wanted to wrap her up in
making her look,
put her in my pocket,
needy and pathetic and sad
stick her in a little matchbox,
helpless.
With some cotton
she goes to the police station, through tears confesses to the policeman, and she's shaking and
she's saying, "Oh, I'm
she's kind of got her hands in the sort of the prayer position. Please, don't throw me away. Not throw me in jail. I mean,
the policeman's there like, oh my God, why did I take this job? I thought it was going to be, I'd rather wrangle drunks all weekend than deal with this poor crying woman that I have to arrest.
I thought that the casting of the police officer was quite good because he wasn't one of these, hard guys, was he? He looked kind of soft and nice.
He wasn't being nice to her, but he wasn't being horrible.
No, he looked the sort that was like, I've got a job to do. I can totally see what you're saying here.
It's going to be a lot easier on both of us if I just do it to the letter.
Yeah, she just sobs and sobs.
Oh my God, I felt so bad for her.
She arrests her.
He arrests her.
They're going to go to court.
Oh, she's just crying.
Yeah. But then it's fine at the end of the episode because she's just got let off with, she's been charged with money laundering, but she's just going to get a fine in community service, really. So it's all okay. I did feel that was tied up a little bit too quickly. And when she was coming home, the fact that she'd been, the makeup had been streaming down her face, 5 minutes earlier, and then she strolls back into number one going, yeah, I'm fine.
Do you think when she says, oh, if I forgot to pay a fine and I've been charged with money laundering, the policeman just sort of looked at her crying, went outside, spoke to his friends, and came back with a bit of printer paper with on the top go official warning written in Sharpie, and then you are naughty, don't do this again, gave it to her, this is your money laundering thing, warning, you've been told off now, you have to pay a fine, it's how much money have you got on you? Yes, it's exactly that amount.
I know.
Like, it doesn't feel official at all, does it?
No.
And like, you've got to do community service, which means you have to put this banana peel that I've just eaten in that bin there. Okay, right? Okay, no, don't do it again.
Sorry, officer, I'll never do it again. I promise.
Okay, thank you. I promise I'll put it in the bin. I'll put it in the bin really well. Just do it, okay, and get out.
So Friday, sadly, I don't think Emma even appears on it, does she? The focus is then at the hospital with Leanne and Nick and Simon, who is a rare sight indeed on the street.
I just really love Wednesday's episode with Emma. She was
so good. She was a real star.
She really,
Ali Madden.
and we often say when it comes to comedic actors that they can lose their appeal very quickly if you give them too many serious scenes, and Emma has been in danger of this happening, but for some reason Wednesday's episode it didn't make me go, oh god, Emma's crying again.
Complained loads about Emma having misery heaped upon her real dad dies, and
Eccles died and she was looking after her.
Yeah, but this particular one,
for some reason, because it was over so quickly and it was sort of like, I don't know, it's because I wasn't really worried for her that
she
much.
was doing
I thought
she was doing something for the right reasons, but I suppose she was with Eccles as well, wasn't she?
She didn't do anything wrong with Eccles, did she?
No.
I think I didn't like the Eccles bit was because everybody was being mean to her, whereas this one, when she was crying, even the policeman was like, oh.
Anyway, so Friday, Leanne is telling Simon that this Wendy woman doesn't trust her. But it doesn't matter because Wendy's still done. She's collected all the evidence that she needs, and see you at the hearing, Leanne, which I think is supposed to be next week. So Simon tells Leanne, no, don't worry, I'll speak to Wendy. I'll
say what a great mum
you are, just so that she's got one more little bit of evidence, and hopefully we'll be able to keep
this woman is so
Ollie
fantastic.
going.
I named my dead rabbit after her.
But that's basically what he should say, isn't he? He goes and speaks to her. He says all the right things, basically.
I beat her up and she didn't even complain.
The whole point of this is just so that he can get hold of her dictaphone, which she very handily leaves in the room after she's called out for a phone call. So over at the Platt's house, Nick and Gail are having another one of these heart-to-heart mum and son scenes. I thought that was some really great stuff there between Helen and Ben, actually. It's basically talking about Sam going in. Maybe Nick says,
Sam going in what?
To go and see Oliver, maybe having another kid around is going to, a kid's voice might stir something in Ollie, and Gail's saying, I don't know whether that's the right thing. It may be a bit traumatic for him.
Sam?
Yeah, that's what Gail was saying.
Yeah.
And speaking of trauma, this is when Nick admits to Gail that he's really, really struggling, and he's realised things are never going to be the same again.
I really like this because this is something that when you go through something really traumatic is the only word I can think of. When somebody dies or something like this happens, you suddenly have this realisation, like, my life's changed and I can't go back to where I was before. And so seeing him vocalising that, I thought was really good writing and really good performance.
I really liked it at the end of the scene where he just says, I love you, Mum. And she's like, I love you too. And you don't get that very much between those two, do you?
Yeah. Gail's like, oh, you'll get over it.
She quite sensibly and seriously says that time's a great healer. I think that she did a really good. Good
she does. She says,
job.
that's a really good thing to say. Time is a healer, because it's like she wasn't saying get over it or you will get over it or whatever. She was saying, I know it's tough.
Well, she kind of says, I've been through so much tragedy, but not in a way to rub it in or anything. But she really, if anyone knows from first-hand experience what it's like to get over the death of a loved relative, it's Gail.
Sometimes you even forget they even existed, Nick. You'll be surprised.
So Simon comes in and shows Leanne and Nick. He's looking a bit guilty about it, isn't he? He's looking a bit sheepish, because he's a bit of a bad lad, but he's got, he knows his right from wrong, doesn't he? And he realises, I think we could get in trouble for this. I've taken this dictaphone. I don't know why.
I don't know if I should have done.
And Nick says, look, if we just take it back, then nobody will know and it'll be absolutely fine. And Leanne's straight away like, no, hang on a minute, I want to listen, I want to spy on to what Wendy's been saying about me. Thank you very much, I'll take that.
Once you've got this thing, you can be accused of listening to it. And you can't prove that you did or you didn't, so you might as well.
Yeah, although knowing then they probably forgot to rewind the tape afterwards once they finished listening to it. Wendy's, I was wondering, we'll get to what happens at the end. So they listen into it and they start to hear the interviews that Wendy had done with everybody, including Dr. Ward.
Well, it's Dr. Hospital.
Oh yeah, sorry, it was Dr. Hospital, wasn't it? And Leanne is just listening. It's almost not to hear what's being said, but just to pinpoint out
Get
the
stuff
bits
that's gonna make.
yeah,
She can. Spin
she's
as
honing in
negative.
on anything at all. Yeah, you're right, that she can spin as negative. And then so once she's heard all she wants to from that one, they skip to the next one. And this was the tail end of the interview with Nick. And was it from last week's episodes or 2 weeks ago? I can't remember. But it's basically the scene that ended with Gail speaking to Wendy and saying, well, basically that Nick has given up on Oliver and he can't admit it to himself. He's trying to be strong and trying to be a good dad and everything. So Leanne has heard Gail saying Nick doesn't think that Ollie's going to get through this, and it's like, oh, that's a bit awkward. And that's even worse. Right on cue, Gail comes in at the end of the scene just to speed things up a little bit.
Why are you giving me that?
Gail bears the full brunt of Leanne's raging fury, and Nick has to step in and say, Mum's lying, because I think Gail was trying to cover
telling the truth.
Yeah, she was telling the truth then, but Gail tries to cover up why she said that.
Yeah, because Leanne's like, why would you do this? Why would you say that? You're an awful person. And Gail's like, I'm.
Yeah, so Nick says Gail was right. I
think
it's time to let him go. He says in the next scene, which was, I mean, when you hear that, I was like, cringing and squirming inside, because it's such a horrible thing to say, and I know you just know what Leanne's reaction to that's going to be. She's not going to go, you're right, Nick, you've made a really well reasoned decision there. I was thinking the same to myself, actually.
I've been secretly thinking that the whole time.
Yeah, but all these trips to the hospital, such a pain.
I know.
No, Leanne refuses still doggedly to refuse up on Ollie, as she should, and if Leanne had backed down then, I would have thought, no, that's out of character.
No, she's like, what, you as well?
She's going to have to eventually. There's going to be some tragic scenes with Leanne pushing a button or something in a couple of weeks'
I don't think they
time.
give you a button.
What do they do it then?
What are you talking about?
They give him a knife, slit his throat.
Michael, be sensitive, please.
I don't know how they do it.
Michael, they don't put the bloody parents in charge of it, do they? What they'll do is say, we're going to remove life support, and we don't know how long he will be around for.
All right then.
And he will slip away. He won't know what's happening. Don't worry, he won't suffer.
All I'm trying to remember.
They're not going to go press this button.
Yeah, it's like, we're not doing it. We're washing our hands of this. You can't blame us for this one, Leanne.
We call this the kill switch.
Just in the back of my head, I'm thinking about when Charlotte Hoyle was in intensive care 10 years ago,
right.
And I'm sure that it was.
I think I've got a memory of that as well, where they said to John, like, would you like
Charlotte's,
to cut the
Hoyles, basically, Charlotte's parents were there, and they were like, oh, you knew Charlotte so well, I think you should be the one that does it. Maybe I'm remembering. Maybe things were different back then.
The cord out.
Maybe if it's a kid, then it's the doctor that gets the hard task of doing it. But anyway, we're getting
Michael,
into
you're so insensitive.
rather insensitive
territory
here, so I apologise. Anyway, so Leanne is saying, how can you betray Oliver like this? There's no coming back for this now. We're finished.
Yeah.
And and Nick's saying, no, we've got to let him go. And she refuses to give up on him. But he's now trying to present the evidence that there's not a single doctor that they've spoken to that thinks that Ollie's got any chance of coming back from this. He said it's cruel and unfair, but we got to admit it, it's over. And I think deep down you know that.
And she kind of gives him a look, doesn't she? But, oh dear.
Yeah. I still don't know whether she knows it. I think anybody... It's hard. You think that anybody in that situation would know it, but you think that you were betraying him if you give that thought more than...
Yeah.
You know.
Leanne's the only thing that Oliver's got left.
Yeah. So she would feel like a terrible, terrible mum if she thought about that for more than a second. She pushes it right.
She can't, in her mind, right, this is the thing. In her mind, she's the only thing standing between Oliver and death. Yeah. So therefore, if she gives up, she's the one responsible for killing Oliver.
Yeah. You're right. And she's a sensible woman. She's intelligent. I mean, this is what Dr. Hospital was saying to Wendy on the dictaphone.
Yeah, like they're really good parents.
They're good parents. They just want to do the right thing. They're both educated.
Yeah.
Well, Leanne's not educated particularly.
She's went to the streets, the University of Hard Knocks.
Yeah. But, yeah, so...
I mean, the thing is, for all that we're saying, Leanne must realise, the amount of times you've seen stories online or in magazines like, oh, miracle happened, I was told I would die, I was given 6 months to live, and now, you know, I cured myself, I did this or the other. You know, there's always a miracle. I don't think there is for this disorder, this disease.
there can't be.
But I don't think that
it's
fair to say that she's delusional.
She must have entertained the idea at some point and then just buried it.
Yeah.
Because she can't allow herself to think it.
She's the only one he's got left.
Yeah, and she's just pushing everybody
Literally
away
now.
that's suggesting it, which in the end of the episode includes Nick. She starts to blame, she'll bring Sam into it and says, well,
shiny new sun.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even need Ollie. You're just ready to move on to the next one, which is cruel, but it was totally why she would think that. And she's just clinging on to anything because now that Nick is standing against her, she's just kind of throwing at him, and she knows that it's going to hurt him to use his newfound son as a weapon against him.
Well, she's probably
and
just
then
also
she draws
thinking,
the final blow.
He's not saying this because Oliver's definitely going to die. He's saying this because of Sam.
Yeah.
So rationalising it like that in her brain is protecting her from the truth.
Yeah, but anyway, basically, they're finished by the end of the episode.
This is not the first time she's told him this.
No, she's kind of flip-flopped between we're finished and, oh, Nick, you're so wonderful.
Nick, you're really supportive.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have this money. But yeah, this week we're ending on a we're finished.
Yeah.
And we also had just a little bit before that the scene with the dictaphone going back to Wendy and Gail.
Gail trying to play hardball.
Yeah.
Like a mafia boss.
She kind of says, oh, well, look, isn't that your dictaphone there? Oh, what, you left it around? Wouldn't it be a shame if somebody had heard all your confidential
good job
reports?
We didn't listen to it, and we won't tell anybody that you're so clumsy you left all this confidential testimony lying around. Don't worry, your secret's safe with us. On your way.
Mm. And Simon's like, don't give up your day job, Gail.
Yeah, what is that these days?
I've got no idea what Gail does. Right.
I think she's big on TikTok.
What have we got to add to this? I think we've kind of been talking about it as we gone along. What did you think about? Let's go with the Emma stuff first. Did you think that she was right to make the confession?
Yeah, because this is the sort of thing that if you don't, you just hangs around for ages and you eventually get found out.
Yeah, it did feel a bit harsh with everybody saying just go off to the station, and she had to take the long and lonely walk there.
You're on your own, love.
I know we should have had a scene really of her, like a high scene of her walking in there on her own, but just it felt maybe that it was tragic enough already.
I really loved her just crying in the police. This is what I would do if I was a bit ever in trouble. I'd just cry and cry and cry. It
was a bit like a lame dog kind of hobbling into the vets to go and get its lethal injection.
Can you please put me down?
Yeah, basically. But you're right, she kind of had to, because these things always, the truth always comes out, especially in soaps.
It was donated through 2 lawyers is like, oops.
Yeah, it was just a shame that it was swept under the carpet a little bit. The fact that there was an armed gunman last week.
I know, is this the end of it now?
Well, I don't know, because one of the things she says in the interview, when the police officer asked her, was, does your lawyer know about this? And she says yes, and it just makes me think that either Imran or Elliot are going to get into big trouble for this.
No, I don't think so, because they both went, okay, yeah, you have to go to the police.
But
no, I don't think so. Surely not.
I wonder whether Imran should have gone to the police as well, or has he just told Elliot and then they're saying, right, we're not going to keep this quiet now, okay?
Michael, if they'd gone to the police, Emma would have been in more trouble. The fact that they told Emma to go gets everyone off the hook. I think, because if they had gone, then Emma would have been concealing it as well. They didn't actually commit a crime. They did commit a crime, because there are certain crimes that you can commit without actually knowing you're doing it, and this is one of them, I think. But as soon as they found out, they have instructed her to go to the police.
But have they given the money back?
Of course they would have had to. The police aren't going to go, all right, yeah, we'll give you a fine, and it's 5% of the total, so don't money launder again, but just so you know, for future reference, you keep the money.
You only take a little bit of it back.
Yeah. Because we think you've gone to all this trouble, and it is for a sick kid.
But yeah, I thought that was my favourite bit of the story this week. As much as I have been loving the Nick and Gail and Leanne and Oliver stuff, there's not much to say that we haven't said for the past 6 months of this story. Like, isn't it brilliant? Isn't everybody involved doing an amazing job in the whole acting department? Isn't it tragic? Isn't it a catch-22 situation? And now we've got the trial coming. What do you think is going to happen at the court hearing? Are we going to have...
Oh, this court hearing. I don't even think it's going to be one.
Why?
What, for Ollie?
Yeah. Because it feels like it's coming up soon, the way they're talking about it, especially Wendy. She's like, well, my job here is done.
Where Wendy's doing the hearing before the trial?
I don't know. It's all the same to me. The official stuff with
Wendy's going to, like, release what she thinks. And she's going to be like, here's the button.
There's no way that anyone's going to, side with Leanne.
No one's going to go, do you know what, after having seen the evidence, she's got a point. They're all going to go, yeah, like you've been told before a million times.
Yeah. I'm still wondering what part Steve's going to play in this, because like I said earlier, when he was saying I wouldn't sacrifice Emma for Ollie, it was... I know it's saying that my children are both equal to me, but I think there might have been a hidden meaning to there, like, I don't think it's worth sacrificing you for this, Emma. And I still said a few weeks ago that Steve needs to be the one that tells Leanne and maybe makes her see. Yeah, but now Nick has told her, but she's still got the whole thing to say, well, obviously you would say that because you got your new son.
Yeah, but then she'll say to Steve, oh yeah, you would say that because you've already got 2 daughters, you don't care. And you're a man, you can have another kid whenever you want. This is my only chance.
But I just feel that...
Now I'm at the stage where I think nobody can get through to Leanne. She's got to come to this by herself.
But Ollie is, blood related, literally the son of Steve. And Nick, she can still say, well, you're detaching yourself from Ollie. You're not his real dad. You've got nothing to do with him. You've got no ties to him. But she can't say to Steve, well, you've got no ties to Ollie. So yeah, I think if he says... What?
She can still say, you've got other children, I don't have any children. Sorry, Simon. Also, you're a man and you can have more kids and I can't. I've just explained to you how she can say it. You think Leanne won't take any opportunity to spin it so that she's right and everyone else is wrong? She's brilliant at it. She can take anything.
But in the end, I still feel that the way this is going to go is her being there and saying... okay, switch off the life support.
Yes, I agree with you.
So what's going to make her do that?
Yeah, you're saying it's Steve and I'm saying no, it will come from her.
She's going to realise herself.
Michael, after having watched...
monologue for Leanne.
After having watched scenes and scenes and scenes of various people telling Leanne there's no hope for your son, and now Gail and Nick telling her, you really think that Steve's going to be the one?
I don't know. I just think it could be quite dramatic if, say, Steve is called up to the stand or something, and when he's put on the spot, what do you think?
That's how they do a court case.
I don't know.
You're on trial, and if you lose, we're gonna press this button. It's not give testimony about whether you think your son should be killed or not.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Right, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just wondering. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing where it goes next week. It's leading to the climax, and this has been a great story.
What your version of how this would happen? Like, the judge is like, we're here to decide whether or not to drown this child. Please come up, the father of the child, and if you're not convincing enough about how much you love him, we'll definitely kill him.
I hope they're not going to drown him in Weatherfield Canal, because they're always finding bodies in there.
Well, he won't be able to drown him. He'll just bounce off on a corpse there. Like, he's not sinking. Why? He's on top of 3 corpses. Who was in charge of dredging the canal?
Yeah, Leanne's come down from this or come back or whatever is going to be very difficult to watch.
Again, Jane, this is the thing about this storyline, is that every single week it goes without saying, but Jane Danson's performances continually, she must be so drained playing this. She is so fantastic. She's so convincing. You feel for her so deeply, even after all these weeks of her being insufferable and horrible, can still absolutely sympathise with her. And she's like, Imagine how you'd feel if you were genuinely convinced, like Leanne is, that there's a chance, there's hope, you can't do this to my son. And you just watch everyone around you gradually
everyone who has
turning
been
their back on
supporting you
and saying, actually, no, I think you're wrong and he should, it's time to let him go. And you're there going, no, but he reacted, or, he might get better, you don't know, nobody knows.
I don't think we've seen very much, if anything, of what Toya and Imran think of Ollie's chances, do we?
Toya just is always very, very nice and supportive of Leanne, but I deep down do wonder what she actually thinks is happening.
She must know, but we've not seen her.
I don't know whether it's unconditional support of Leanne is actually helping her.
It feels like, say, Emma is a good supporter of Emma believes that they can save Ollie. I think
I don't want to be rude to Emma, but I think it's because she's not bright enough.
She's too naive. She's naive.
That's a nicer way of putting it.
But I think Toya must know, but she has got the sisterly support. But maybe it's her that tells it. I don't know. Let's just, before we move on to the next one, I just wanted to go back to the Johnny and Jenny story, which was swept under the carpet halfway through Monday's episode. I didn't like it when Jenny said to Johnny, "Let's not talk about this." It feels like that's going to brew up and it's going to resurface again in a few weeks. I think that this is far from over, and Johnny's just going to get himself wound up into a frenzy because anytime he tries to talk about it, Jenny shuts him down. And I think that's one to watch maybe. Do you want to go on to the next story? It's your turn to talk about it. It's the Asha Pasha's storyline, Gemma. What's been happening here this week?
On Monday, we have a whole thing where they like doing on the show where it seems to me that very often teenagers or children on the show, the main thing they want their parents to buy for them are trainers.
It is. It's not the first time, is it? That kids have wanted trainers on this show.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid and having trainers was a big deal. I just would have thought that kids would have moved on from that, but I guess not.
I was never bothered about a trainer.
Of course you were. I always used to get high techs. Is Asha after some Yeezys? So I want to know.
What's a Yeezy?
Isn't that the Kanye West's horrible trainers?
That's me.
That cost hundreds of dollars and people queue up outside trainer shops?
I don't know.
They call themselves sneakerheads.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, I don't know. No. She wants a lovely pair of rainbow trainers, we find out this week.
Yes. Dev...
Which she's convinced Ardy is jealous of. I don't think that they would really suit him.
Well, they make out that these are like super designer trainers that everybody wants.
Yeah. I don't think they would fit everybody's style. I don't think they really suit Asha, to be honest. But what do I know?
You don't know. Dev refuses to give Ardy an advance on his wages to get trainers. Asha's texting Corey. Then Corey comes to the kebab shop and he's bought Asha's trainers. And so this annoys Ardy even more because he wanted trainers and Asha's getting some. They talk about...
They're winding him up, aren't they? Because there was something earlier on in the episode where he talks about this girlfriend that he's got, and they don't believe that she even exists.
Ardy tells Dev that Asha and Corey are having sex, and that's why she's been given these trainers. And Dev sends Ardy upstairs, and Asha's like, no. Later on, Dev wants to chat with Ardy. And Ardy realises that actually he doesn't want to chat about him. He wants to talk about Asha again. And all he cares about is Asha. And he's like, oh, by the way, they're definitely sleeping with each other. On Wednesday, Asha's going on about Corey.
Asha's going on about Corey to Ardy, isn't she? To Amy, sorry.
Right. And...
He's changed his relationship status on Facebook or Instagram or something. He's ordered a face mask with her face on.
Yeah, that was weird. And Amy's like, have you slept with him? He's well fit. And she's like, no. And she's like, well, you should be prepared to end up like me.
It seems like Corey's main personality traits are fit and minted.
Yes, fit and minted. Who wouldn't want a boyfriend who's fit and minted? And also... capable of buying you shoes at the drop of a hat. That sounds bloody great to me. Dev offers to make it up to Ardy by buying him a new pair of trainers and gave him a dad and lads day. And Ardy's like, okay, whatever, Dad, yeah, fine. Later on, Asha has gone to see the doctor and she has been given...
The doctor? not just any doctor, Gemma.
Are you sure it was Dr.
It was
Gaddis?
definitely Dr. Gaddis. We didn't get to see it, but it happened.
Did she say it was Dr. Gaddis?
She does, yeah.
Okay, Michael. She's got the pill from Dr. Gaddis, the contraceptive pill, and she has said you should probably talk to your dad, but she doesn't want to. Amy says hide them. It doesn't do a very good job because as soon as she comes home, Dev's there and confronts her, saying Mary saw her coming out of the medical centre. Are you pregnant? If you're not, why were you there without me? How come you can blah 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 go without me? Yada yada yada. Asher says, "Sorry, Dad, I was getting the pill," and he's like, "Oh."
The whole thing about Amy recommending that Asher hide the pill, it felt like it was going down here we go, she's going to hide it.
Put it on top of the bin.
Yeah, and they never went there. It felt like, I don't know why they even bothered having Amy suggest that they hide it. She hides it.
Well, because I think that's what you would say if you knew that her dad was Dev.
I'm glad that they didn't go down that route.
No, I am as well, but I think it's a realistic conversation between... Right, so Dev does not want his daughter to go on the pill. She's 15. He is furious at the idea that she could be contemplating having sex. They're both shouting at each other. Asher's defiant. Dev's like, that's it. I'm going to give Corey a welcoming party. He'll remember when he gets here. And then he bans Corey from seeing Asher for life. And Corey's like, what's going on? What did I do? And Dev's like, you pressured my daughter into having sex. She's on the pill because of you. And Corey's like, what? No, we're not sleeping with each other. And Asher's there, like, mortified, having to say, I'm just trying to be sensible. I'm just trying to be ready for when I'm 16. And then Dev tries to apologise to her. And she's like, no, it's my body. I'll decide what I do with it. And Dev is heartbroken. Arnie comes back. And Dev's sitting there with his head in his hands. And Arnie's like, oh, well, great day
Thanks
out.
for your dad's and lads day, Dad.
Thanks for my trainers, Dad. And Dev's like, oh, I'm really sorry, but she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, son. I couldn't come with you because your sister's planning on having safe sex and I can't deal with it. So Andy's not surprised, and again his nose is put out of joint because he sees Dev basically giving more attention to Asher. On Friday they're all having aggro with each other. Artie's playing Mario Kart because Dev won't let him play any other games.
I thought that was funny. I was like, oh, they're in Mario Kart. They don't really usually show.
They even have the
They
sound.
never show games that I play. And I was like, oh, he's playing it. I like it. And then he dissed it and said, well, it's a kid's game, but I'm not allowed to play anything else. I'm like, well. I put a tweet out and Adam Hussein said that you like Mario Kart. So
it's recommended.
Yeah.
Asher and Amy just reckon that Artie's jealous of her trainers, and they talk about how they're worth loads of money and limited edition or whatever. And Asher tells Amy about what's going on between Dev and Corey. And Asher's like, I don't know if Corey knows. I want to wait till I'm 16. Later on, Dev tries to apologise and say, look, I'm really sorry, I messed up. You don't come with manuals. I'm a single parent. I'm just making it up as I go along. I don't know what you guys want. What do you want? And they both go, we don't want to go to the stupid school anymore. We're going to go back to Worthy High. We don't fit in anymore in your skin. So Dev's like, okay, fine. And then he says he's made lovely dinner. And
he says Corey can come over for curry on Corey.
Corey comes round and he and Dev bond over golf because Dev likes golf and Corey's dad is a golfer and he's on the committee of something, and his dad used to something famous golfer.
Yeah.
And
I think that Artie could bond with Corey over this. That's he used to be a pro golfing kiddie.
Yeah. Dinner was a success, and then Corey's like, I can't wait to get some quality time with you, Asher. And she's like, oh no, shouldn't have got those pills.
Yet again, I'm absolutely loving this story.
It's really
just because of it's not high stakes melodrama.
No, it's proper relatable. Even though we don't have children, it's proper relatable, like household drama.
Yeah, I mean,
of characters interacting and all having conflicting desires and motivations, and trying to reconcile that together as a family.
Yeah, I mean, you on the one hand you got your Debbie Ray story, and it's like, oh, they're gonna knock down all the buildings on the street, so it's massively high stakes. And then you got your Ollie's on death's door, and everybody's turning against Leanne, and that's huge high stakes. And this is so, low stakes in many ways, and that's what makes it relatable. And the thing that I love about this is that all of the three main players in it are all so sympathetic. I feel still so bad for Dev that he's been dropped into this situation. What he was saying today about, I don't get a manual to be a dad, and obviously Sunita died and I've had to raise you. I don't know what I'm doing. He wants to protect his girl, which is, it's not a new idea in fiction by any means, but to see
daughter,
him, but
his girl,
to see him going through it and wanting to do his best because he, that this is the job that he's been landed with, and he wants to protect her. It's so relatable, and he feels, and he can see it's the age-old thing of seeing your daughter growing up too fast. You're not my little girl anymore. Jimmy is doing such a wonderful job. I
totally understand why he's like, oh my god, you're 16. You're like, you're not even 16 yet. Please don't think about doing this.
But it must be something that fathers up and down the country go through.
I know, and also Ash is not wrong at all. Like, if she's going to think about doing it, she should definitely look into contraception.
And I think it's really refreshing how sensible she's being about it, which is why I'm also incredibly sympathetic to her.
Yeah, she's not going to fall into this teenage mother trap like Sarah, Amy and Faye.
No, she's not.
Hopefully.
She's got her head screwed on.
Say that. Well,
she's sensible. She's got glasses. That's how you know she's clever.
She says that
that's why she's fine to go back to Weatherfield High. She's got a secret disguise, like, a Clark Kent glasses. Nobody's going to recognise her, so they're not going to mention the whole "we've seen your boobs on the internet" kind of thing.
Yes, and she also said she's going to make Corey wear a condom, but I don't know whether he seems like the sort of person who would be down with that, because he's probably all in for her being inconvenienced, but not himself. Well, I'm not really fond of Corey. Even now, I don't know whether I'm supposed to like him.
I know. Well, I was wondering that, and it felt like was it Monday or Wednesday's episode? I can't remember, when he first gives her the trainers. That must have been Monday. We were definitely not supposed to like him because they were making fun of Ardy, who is the third person that I'm feeling really sympathetic for.
I know, poor Ardy, because he's just being shoved into the sidelines. Nobody is interested or cares about what he thinks about anything, and Dev only seems to be able to relate to him as to through Asher and like him snitching on her.
Yeah, and this again is nothing new to have, two kids and one of them feels like the other one is being
the favourite or getting more attention.
They've done it on Corey millions of times before, but because I love all of the actors involved, I think that good. Adam Hussein, absolutely wonderful. Yeah. He's they work really good. Well together. They are such a great team. Yeah. They've got such a brilliant family unit. The Alahans really are ones to watch for the future.
This is a really good storyline. And it's such a simple, basic story.
It is. It's its simplicity.
It really isn't something that I can imagine somebody suggesting in the writer's room and everyone going, yes, brilliant idea, we'll do that. But it is the sort of thing they should be doing more of, because I always say this time and time again, the biggest strength soaps have are the characters. Nothing can compete with a soap when it comes to character development.
Yeah, and this story is proof of that. This is character drama. This isn't a plot.
Yes.
But, I mean, I think that it could turn into a plot story, and that I've seen some people's suggestions about where this could go, and some of them are weird, like, could this be something where, is there going to be some sort of twincest story and people are saying no, or is Ardy going to try and bump off Corey or something because he wants to protect her? I really don't need this story to get...
It doesn't need to be sensationalised.
But the other problem with the character stories is, like this, is there's only so much they can go, and it's, at the moment, it feels like it's kind of solved. Dev managed to get one round to Corey fairly easy. The lingering bits here, it feels like Corey thinks that Asher is saying,
I'm ready.
I'm ready for you, where she's not. So is he going to try and get a bit too hot and heavy with her before she's ready? Is there going to be something like that? Is Ardy going to walk into the house one day and find, Corey on top of her on the sofa, and she's trying to push him off, and then he hits her over the head with the Sunita statue from a shrine or something. Or a statue, yeah. I wonder whether it's going down that route. Because because everything else that we've had with Asher, the Asher Flashes story earlier this year and the skin lightening one last year were great character stuff, but they're over a bit too quickly because it was, there were simple storylines, simple character storylines. So, and I think that Coronation Street will have hopefully recognised what assets they've got in Tanisha and Adam and Jimmy really as well, and they'll want to give them some big stuff to do, and maybe next year is the year that the Alahans are, really pushed to the forefront of Coronation Street, which means giving them big stories, sensationalist stories.
15, there's plenty more teenage angst to come. Yeah,
but the fact that the actors are now both, they're adults, Tanisha and Adam, means that they can throw a whole lot more work at them.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if, say, even, I don't know, next year's Britain's Got Talent week revolves around what this lot are doing. I really think that they are ones to watch.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know whether we're supposed to think Corey is evil or not. I guess it's a wait and see, because he seemed quite genuinely nice and normal after the whole golf talk with Dev, and I was almost a bit disappointed because I kind of want him to be a bit of a nasty piece of work.
I think he's a nasty piece of work.
There's still definite potential there.
I think he's the sort of guy who would try and get her into bed and then just sort of move on.
I think that I was wondering about this story that Adi was saying about his girlfriend. Like, is that going to turn out that this girl really does exist, or is he making her up?
Don't know.
Because he was sort of saying, well, we keep our photos private, not like you flashing them all across the net for the world to see. It'd be quite interesting if it turned out he was telling the truth there, maybe, and he has got a girlfriend, but I think he hasn't. And that's about it, really. I just think really, really great stuff with the Alahans. I'm nowhere near getting tired of them, which I can't necessarily say about the next storyline, the Babes in Grey story, which felt like it was just kind of meandering along this week. And it's a shame, because the last time we got a little bit of this, it was the whole unexpected twist of Grace not really being Tiana's mum, and it felt like, wow, this is amazing, where's this going to go next? And all we got this week really was Michael finding out about the baby. So he goes off. Well, he's supposed to have an interview on Monday. I don't know how he thinks that the factory is going to be able to cope without him doing whatever. But
he's also a designer.
Oh yeah, we learn. Apparently, he's got the design qualifications.
And he says he wants to move jobs to somewhere that has a design department. By which I guess he means don't just ship out all of their design work to the local part-time cafe worker / teen girl.
Yes,
/ golf / bat lover.
Yeah, maybe we're going to see Nina and Michael team up and make their own business. Next year, predictions, there you go. So he's got this interview, and Ed says, look, I just think you should stick with what you've got. Don't have any ambition, son. And Michael says, but I just want to find my passion, Dad.
You'll never find it.
Doesn't matter, because he gets waylaid somewhat.
My passion is not doing anything.
He goes to, why does he even go to the hospital? Oh, no, he goes to see his mum, doesn't he? Because Aggie's back this week.
Aggie's back.
First time we've properly seen her. Oh, yeah. Literally, the first scene that she's in, they have to throw in the recycled old lines about her not being able to cook anything. It's like there must be more to the character than this.
Literally, these people all are architects of their own doom, because if I had a family member who was incapable of cooking anything, like my husband, I just wouldn't let him cook like my husband. I do all the cooking in this house. Michael can't cook.
But I don't think any of them can cook. That's the problem.
It's not difficult. It really isn't.
Well,
I just let you believe that it is, because I don't want to do the washing up.
Anyway, he's at the hospital seeing Mum, and what do you know, just while he's waiting outside, that's when Grace turns up, flagged by 2 officers. Remember, she's been arrested.
She's still in trouble
for trying to run away with a baby. She sees Michael and shouts out, I'm pregnant. She swears it's his, but he's really, really doesn't know whether to believe her, because the last baby that she said was his actually turned out... Ooh, a little burp there, I apologise.
You don't need to tell everybody. everybody. That's what you just did. They could hear it.
I didn't do it. He says...
you should take that out. You're disgusting.
No, that's fine. It's all natural.
Carry on, Michael.
He says, I don't know whether to believe you or not. What you did to me with Tiana was unforgivable. He walks away. She's there crying in the background. No, Michael, don't you care? Michael. And whenever we have things like that, whenever people mention Michael or Gemma, we always give each other funny looks, don't we? One day they just got to put Michael together with Gemma just for one scene, just like a one night stand or something.
Michael comes back to number 3.
As a tribute. Sorry, he goes back to number 3. He hasn't gone to the... Am I waffling too long here? I do apologise. James can see that Michael's stressing at the end of the episode. He says he tells him what's happened with Grace and everything, and James is like, oh, she must be lying. Grace phones. James answers it and says that Michael's not interested in anything that you've got to say. Thank you very much.
Puts the phone down and says, that was somebody saying, if you're in an accident in the last 2 years.
Michael gets a letter from Grace on Wednesday saying...
and a scan.
And a scan. Saying, come and visit me in prison. So there's only like 3 scenes on Wednesday's episode with them in. This is the problem with this week. It was just a little bit slow. She's gone on the phone to him later in the episode saying, come and visit me for a face-to-face chat. So he does on Friday, and they have a lot of angsty scenes there behind the plastic screen. And she says, this is definitely your baby, because this is the thing this week. Is she actually lying? But she seems adamant that she can get a paternity test, and so he's kind of starting to believe more. Maybe this baby is actually mine. And then at the end of the episode, Michael says to James, yeah, Grace is still on my mind. He doesn't tell her that you went to see her. But what we do learn is that he doesn't want Ed or Aggie to find out, which means that before long, Ed and Aggie are going to find out.
And then they'll go, oh, gosh. I think Ed will be happy, but annoyed that it's Grace is the mum. Yeah, and Aggie will be like, I knew that woman was trying to...
She tricked you into it. I think that she...
We missed Aggie's opinion on Grace being a kidnapper.
Yeah.
And now we're going to get to hear it. And I'm excited.
She's going to demand that there's a scan. But also, A test, sorry. Doesn't Aggie work in the kiddie department at the hospital she did the last time we saw her there with Ollie? I don't know whether that's anywhere at all linked to the...
You're not trying to suggest that she's going to do nefarious things with her powers.
She may well do.
Hope not.
I don't know. What's scanning called in the hospital? What's baby scanning? Sonography. That's not the same thing really as working on the children's ward, is it? But there's only about 3 rooms in the whole of Weatherfield General that I've ever seen, so I'm sure she's got the chance to go sneaking about and finding out things.
Why does Michael want to keep this a secret from Ed and Aggie, other than the fact that it means there's a conflict they're going to find it out, and he'll be like, no.
Yeah, not really sure. Maybe because he doesn't want Aggie going off on one. And if he tells
maybe it's just because
Ed,
he wants to think about it first before they wade in and start telling him what he thinks.
What do you think he should do? Do you think he should...
What do you mean, what should he do?
Well, should he wash his hands of her and say...
I don't think he's got a choice. If he asks for a paternity test and it turns out it's his child, I don't think you can go, well, I don't want anything to do with it. Yeah,
but do you think that he's going to end up, getting back with Grace or anything?
I think they will end up getting back together. I'm really interested to know what will happen to Grace. Is she going to have her baby before she gets her court case? What would they do with the baby? I guess she can stay with Grace, or he can stay with Grace. But the thing I'm thinking about, honestly, is what will social services do? Because Grace has proven herself to be somewhat unreliable in the care of children. Are they going to have a hearing or something and go, we don't think that Grace is capable of looking after this baby, we're going to have to put it into the foster care, and you're not, I'm sorry, Michael, but you were also involved and you're not allowed to. I think that could be quite interesting.
There could be a battle between Grace and Michael to keep the baby, and Michael ends up keeping her. Yeah,
it could be that, but like I say, it's also quite possible that the social services could get involved and say, we don't think you're competent.
I just don't necessarily see Grace as a long-term character in this show.
I know you keep saying
she's
that.
Been in it a year now. We haven't seen much of her, so it might be quite convenient if she's told, no, you can't keep the baby. Michael's going to look after. Because she kidnapped Tiana, but how long is she? What is the punishment for that? I don't know.
I don't think they mind as long as you give them back.
I just don't feel that that's the sort of thing that gets a really long jail sentence.
You think you can just kidnap someone's baby and they'll say, look, you know that was wrong, don't you? And you say yes, and they'll say, if you don't do it again,
But
we'll just fine you £5.
it was clearly that she wasn't, in full mental capabilities.
Yeah,
or what
but if
have
you're going
you.
to use that argument, then you're going to have to start to think, should she be allowed to have Tiana? And I'm only
which
saying,
is what I was saying.
yeah, but I'm saying this from a point of view of only from a soap. I'm not talking about anybody in real life. I don't want people to think that I want social services to snatch babies off of people. But in the world of Coronation Street, they've had quite a few social workers coming into the show, which is, I don't really remember there being a lot of them previously. I do think it's interesting, and I don't think people really understand sometimes how much power social services can have over you if you've never had any dealings with them whatsoever. Equally, how stretched they are and how difficult it is for them to actually get their jobs done and protect vulnerable children.
Mm. Yeah, they're often portrayed as the bad guys in soaps,
Well,
aren't they?
yeah,
Or TV
if
in
not
general.
bad guys, just antagonists.
Yeah.
But
No, I think that there might be a court battle between Grace and Michael, and Michael ends up keeping the baby, but Grace gets out of prison, or is let off with a rap on the knuckles or whatever. She then kidnaps the baby, the new baby, and then she's told, right, you can have
you're
nothing
not
to
going
do
to do
with
it
this
again.
anymore.
This is the
Off you
second
go.
time.
You're in prison, and then Michael is left with the baby very conveniently, and they don't have to have Grace.
Fool me once.
There's my long far away projection of where the story's going. But
how about they have a battle, he wins, she kidnaps the baby, and then she runs in front of a tram and is about to die, and he's like, Grace, and she looks at him, and the tram's coming still, and she's there on the tracks, unable to move. Michael, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. And he's like, what? Move out of the way, Grace. Save yourself. Save the baby. And she's like, there's no time, Michael. I can't possibly move out of the way of this tram.
the tram's coming. Dun-dun, dun-dun.
Michael, before the tram kills me, I just want you to know that I love you so much, and I want you to look after our baby. And then she just lobs it, and then she gets run over by the tram.
And then James comes in and goes, I've got it on my edge. Goal.
And everyone's like, well, at least it wasn't rugby, because he would have just punted it.
Right, final story, Gemma. This is your one. Dill, we meet again. Sean and Dylan. Speaking of football,
On Monday, Sean's being a cool dad.
trying desperately to be.
Oh no, he is a cool dad, because he had ice cream. Dylan had ice cream for breakfast, and got to stay up late watching it. Now, is that the original or the remake?
Remake.
We may never know. But today, Dylan wants to hang out with Ardy because they love football and talking about athletes. Sean's like, why don't we do anything different than that? And then Dylan says we can get county tickets and go and watch a match. And Sean's like, you want to watch it again? Ryan says...
They made a sequel to It.
What's it called?
It Too.
It Too. Ryan says, I don't know if you know this, Sean, but actually the guy that is in county... James.
I don't get why they had to have Ryan explaining this or suggesting this.
Sean's probably like, I thought he was like a hockey player. I don't know about sports.
They literally live, 3 doors down from each other. Sean didn't think of
asking the guy
resident footballer.
So anyway, he's like, can you hook me up?
Give Ryan more scenes.
Also, the fact that Dylan lives down the road from a footballer, and...
Yeah, it's never come up so far.
And he's never tried to look through his windows or stalked him or hung around in the ginnel. If I was Dylan, I would be in the ginnel playing football by myself, waiting for James to come out so I can go, oh, Joe, do you want to play kickabout with me? You know what I mean?
I suppose he's only been there for a week, and what I know that Dylan's reaction would have you believe otherwise, but James isn't exactly insert important famous footballer here, so maybe Sean didn't think to mention him, because he's just James, isn't he?
Well, Dylan's very impressed when Sean brings James round.
Are you James Bailey?
And James is like a ticket pimp. because he's like, yeah, I'll hook you up. What do you want? Everything? Is this the
No,
episode?
this is when they say, this is when they say,
do you want hospitality?
And Sean says, I don't want them to be rude.
Really
there
funny
were
line.
loads of great lines this week.
So he's like,
Such a
okay, great.
script.
Tommy A will sort this out for you, because apparently the Wetherby County players moonlight as ticket agents as well as footballers. I
Well,
guess it's more clubs you've got
unprecedented times, Gemma.
Yeah. Then Sean is stunned to discover that these tickets are £150 each. And I guess this is justified, because I don't think this is a normal amount for a team of this calibre to charge.
No.
What kind of refreshments do you get for £150 each? Bearing in mind Dylan is a child and you can't give him champagne. Sean's like, can I pay you in instalments or something? Can I have a bit more time? He asks Eileen on Wednesday for a rent holiday. Eileen's like, during a pandemic, I would be more than happy to give you a rent holiday so you can buy frivolously expensive football tickets to watch a match that you're not interested in. Of course, Sean. Dylan overhears this, and he speaks to Violet. He says to Sean, ask Violet, who's the mum, obviously, for some money to pay for it. And she's like, no way, I'm not going to go, according to her and Anton. And Dylan says, I'm not going to let you spend any more money on me. It's not fair on you. Stop trying to compete with my mum.
This is basically what the story's about, isn't it?
It's
Sean's
him
inability
feeling
to
inadequate.
compete. Yeah,
he's feeling inadequate because he knows
parents.
that already they've got the time and everything. They've got more time with Dylan than he has, and he's trying to connect with him in various ways, and it doesn't really work. And the only thing he can think of is throwing money at the problem, which he doesn't have. So Sean tells Eileen that Dylan told him off for spending money, and Eileen says, don't even try to compete with Violet and Anton. There's no point. You won't be able to. On Friday, Sean and Dylan having a kick about in the yard, and then Sean says, I worry that you don't like me.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't not like you. That's weird. And then they agree to play football on the computer. And Dylan beats Sean 9-0. And then he gets a text from Violet. And he's like, oh, wow.
I think football parlance is 9-0.
What did I say?
You said 9-0. Just telling you as the man of the podcast.
Okay.
I think that's what they call it. And I also learned that they don't call it an interval, they call it half time from Sean this week as well, which is another great line. There were so many. I'm loving this. This is great.
Violet's booked them a New Year's getaway to a 5-star castle in Scotland with a spa. Oh my God, can I come? He goes off excited to phone his mum. I think they'll have the heating on. Leaving Sean there. And Sean's going to Eileen, oh, how come she's done this? I can't compete. I wish she hadn't said it while I was here. And then he vows to change his life to make Dylan proud.
Whatever that's going to involve.
He's going to forget in 5 minutes that as soon as Dylan's gone, he's going to completely forget this ever happened and blow all his money on sequined bomber jackets like he normally does.
I know. I don't know what he thinks he's going to do.
How
is he going to ask
he
James for secret football training lessons or something? Or is he going to just try and get a
lot
more tough and manly and grow a big moustache?
Work in hospitality at Weatherfield County football.
Oh, that's
grounds,
where all the money is.
Raking in the cash, 150 quid a ticket for a lukewarm sausage roll and a bottle of pop.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where it's going.
I don't know what more change he can do, really. I mean,
I don't think Sean's the sort of character that we're going to see massive growth or change with, and a lot of people would say that Sean, Sean is fairly. Yeah, superficial, isn't he?
Yeah, I like him like that.
And I like him like this. And lots of viewers despise Sean and they think he's too one-dimensional. He's not changed at all in 20 years.
Nothing wrong with being superficial.
And he is in need of a change or a boot. But I'm not talking about football boot here. But yeah, I think any real attempt to change Sean would just make him not Sean anymore, so I don't really want to see it. But I do think it's quite sweet how he's desperately trying to connect with his son. Again, like the Dev story, fairly relatable and low-key, really,
also like
which is another reason why I'm enjoying it.
Trying to throw money at his children instead of actually connecting with them. Because Dylan keeps saying, like, I'm fine with how we are. Like, I'm fine with you as you are. You're my dad.
Yeah.
I think he thinks that he needs to do more than he actually does. I mean, he's already in his life, which is more than some dads are.
I mean, even if Sean does try to change, the story's going to end with Dylan saying, I love you just how you are, isn't it? I mean, that feels like where it's going to go, but I'm enjoying Sean having a storyline. I'm liking Dylan a bit more this week. I mean, from the moody teenager he was 2 weeks ago to, fairly decent kid this week, I think he's all right. And we've had quite a few people on our Facebook group complimenting the actor and saying we've seen him in, Last Tango he was in? And saying he was absolutely fantastic in that.
Yeah,
so
because to remind everybody, this is the same actor who played Dylan originally.
Yeah, so he started off on Choreo, I guess, and then he went away, did some big things, shows, now has come back here. So, he has more than proved that he can do some fantastic dramatic acting. I don't know in this particular story whether he's going to get... No, but he's not...
He's great, I'm not saying, but they haven't given him anything that makes me go, there's what people are talking about when they say...
No. Where it's still with the comparison to Sam is obvious, isn't it? Whereas straight away...
Don't compare them. So mean.
We thought that he was fantastic.
That's because he was given a different introduction. Yeah. It's completely down to how you introduce characters.
It doesn't feel that in this story he's going to be given the chance. I mean, unless he gets caught up in some crazy stunt with Todd or something, I don't know. But I don't even know how long he's going to stay in it.
I'm really interested in what's going to happen here, because I don't want this to be... Dylan came for 3 weeks. Sean was crying because he couldn't go to Scotland. And then Dylan went home and Sean forgot that he had a son again. I kind of am thinking to myself, is Violet going to turn up without Anton, or something's going to happen where... I mean, the soapy thing that could happen is that Anton and Violet could die.
I know, which is what we said about Grace with Tiana last year, didn't we? Sean is left with the kid. I mean, that's what happened to Chesney. Katie died, and now Joseph has come back to live with him.
It'd be quite interesting if Dylan had this inheritance, and Sean couldn't use it, but then he's got this kid who's accustomed to a certain level of living, and he can't provide it, but this kid's got the money, and I can imagine.
I'm thinking that reminds me a lot of the Vicky story, where she was given the inheritance, but she wasn't allowed to touch it until she was 18, I think, and then
she went round investing in t-shirt businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Well done.
I do remember something.
So maybe I think that having,
and that was back in the
90s.
Yeah,
I think that giving Sean a son could be the rocket up the bum that the character needs. And if they've got their hands on a decent actor, then they may well want to keep hold of him.
But this does again seem to me to be another case of when all the storylines are kind of this similar. Like, they think of one idea and then they do it with all the characters. Like, we've got RD Asher and Dev all trying to relate to one another, and then now we've also got Dylan and Sean.
Well, I wonder whether Dev and Sean might bond a little bit, because they're both struggling to connect with their teenage children, and Dylan and RD seem to be buddying up.
I don't know.
But I think that having Dev and Sean together in multiple scenes could be a bit too much for some people to take. I think I'd probably quite love it. Dev was silly this week. He had that story about giving somebody the Heimlich manoeuvre in St Mary's Square, didn't he? And he'd done all the noises with it. Then he had his talking like Yoda scene earlier on in the week as well. I can totally see how he winds people up, but I think that Dev is absolutely wonderful. So that is it for this week. Very strong series of episodes, I have to say. Today's ones didn't quite hit me in the same way as the others, but I appreciated the drama and the great performances in the Ollie Wobble story.
Yeah, brilliant. There's so much tell you what, they've mined so much out of this Ollie storyline. It goes to show you what they can get out of one story if they really, really want to focus on it. That's why it gets frustrating sometimes when you watch something and you're really invested in it and it ends up being a week or two's worth of story, like Ash's skin lightening story. There was so much more that could have been wrung out of that.
And what we're seeing at the moment is still a natural progression from that, isn't it? About her not feeling confident in herself, but now she's got this boy paying attention to her.
Making her feel good
follows,
about herself.
But you're right, it's not the same story, is it? But yeah, what I loved most about Monday and Wednesday was Debbie's scheming and machinations, which we didn't see as much of today. And also Emma, I thought was fantastic. We didn't see her at all today.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing when Emma was in the police station.
I know.
Oh, let her go.
I don't know. I am for character of the week this week. You know, some weeks you like.
I don't know. Everyone was just equally as good as each other.
There are so many that you give it to this week. I could very easily give it to any of the Alahans. Honestly, I could give it to Debbie. I could give it to Sally. I could give it to Emma. I could give it to Leanne. I could give it to Nick. Any of those would be really.
I want to give mine
honestly
to Emma,
deserving to it,
because Emma made my heart break. I couldn't believe
on a character
emotions.
point of view, the fact that Emma went and confessed was
I
quite
love her
a
so
big
much. I think she's rapidly becoming my favourite character.
I
mean, I've liked her for a long time.
Yeah,
but
I think I can't remember the last time I've had so many options for character of the week. Abby could be another one as well. I think I'm going to have to go Debbie. I think it's going to have to be Debbie, partly because I started the week, you know, I was suspected it was her, but I still didn't particularly like the character, so I wasn't that thrilled with the idea that she was Roxy. But just the way that the character suddenly comes alive and Sue brought a real sparkle to her. I
loved her.
She is a really talented actress. I want
to Sally and Sally didn't even notice. Poor Sally.
All of that on Wednesday
I tell you what,
was
people
just
call
brilliant.
Sally a snob, but she's actually the victim of snobbery far more than she inflicts it on other people.
What do you mean?
People are so snobby against Sally because they're like, oh, you think you're better than you are. You literally can't say that to somebody without being a snob yourself.
Yeah. I think what we were saying about Debbie earlier, and is she really a villain? Is she not? I wonder whether she's going to have to, you know, is she going to end up dead this Christmas? I don't know.
I just think there's going to be a cop-out where Sally and Debbie both unite against Ray, because they're really, like,
I think
they're the most
could
lackluster henchmen ever.
I think that it could very well be Abby and Debbie teaming up, but equally, I would be incredibly happy if 2021... Debbie is the big bad, because we're not going to have Jeff anymore.
I don't think she's in it to be.
I don't think she is as well, but
she just knows what she wants.
But she could be. They could say,
now
she was good. Let's take her down more of this dark route. And what have we said about Coronation Street needing a proper villainess? From what I've seen of her lying and deception, I think that she could be brilliant. She's hard. She can be cold.
She's practical. She doesn't care if you like her or not.
She was fantastic. Yeah, so she is my character of the week, but an awful lot of honourable mentions. Really, really strong week.
What are you going to score it?
This is between a 4 and a 4.5 week for me.
I'm definitely giving this 4, and I'm giving it 4 beautiful plumes.
4 beautiful plumes from Sally's chimney.
Yeah. I'm glad the chimney got used at least once. As
we went into tonight's episode, I thought, this could be a 4.5 week if it keeps me gripped and entertained and laughing at this, and also, you know, feeling sympathy. I didn't quite get the laughter in tonight's episode that I wanted to. I don't know what it is about, you know, Leanne realising or but as I was watching it, I was like going, I think it's more of a 4, but really good. I'm giving it 4 moles on Abby's backside out of 5. Great stuff. Oh, you just got to keep it going another 4 or 5 weeks, Coronation Street, because if we get 4 or 5 more weeks of this quality, then we are going to be leading into a fantastic 60th anniversary celebration.
Exciting. Exciting.
Good stuff.